Hi, sweet students. It's your favorite reading teacher. I really hate that we didn't finish our Charlotte's Web book. We had started and we did a pretty good job of getting through it, but of course we finished right at a part where it was not a great part to have to stop at. So I wanted to catch you up on the last part that we read, see if you remember. Now remember, we had 3 rules during this time. Number 1, no reading other books, because what's the point of me reading this book if you're reading something else? Number 2, no distractions. And in the classroom, that was talking to other people mostly. It could be other things now that you're at home. And number 3, if you're going to draw, no crafting, just drawing. That rule is a little different now because now you're at home. So I don't have to clean up your crafting mess. So you could just do that if you wanted. But the other 2 rules stay. No reading and no being distracted by other people. Hopefully I won't be distracted. We are on the chapter before the one we're doing today was called Uncle. And if you remember, Wilbur and Fern, the whole Zuckerman family, decided that they were going to go to the fair and they were taking Wilbur there because they wanted to see if he could win a prize because he's such a famous pig. Everyone knows about him, and they decided to take the whole family. This was a big deal to them. It wasn't like it is today where there's a lot of entertainment and places to go. Of course, recently there's not been a lot of entertainment or places to go. So it's a lot like it was back then. The fair was a really big deal, and every farming community was excited when the fair came to where they were, and they could travel there and take their livestock and do some things they didn't normally get to do. So Fern and Henry, no, sorry, Fern and Avery left and went to go do rides, and their parents gave them some money. While they were doing that, Charlotte and Wilbur met a pig named Uncle. Uncle was a big pig. He was kind of sloppy and not real friendly. Charlotte went down to speak to him, and he just wasn't really great. Um, he just kind of, I don't know, he was very different than Wilbur. Wilbur was very open and honest and genuine, and he was kind of cracking jokes and kind of being silly with her. She wasn't really a fond of him. So they're just kind of waiting at the fair. And this next chapter is called The Cool of the Evening. In the cool of the evening, when shadows darkened the fairgrounds, Templeton crept from the crate and looked around. Remember, Templeton is our rat in the story. Wilbur lay asleep in the straw. Charlotte was building a web. Templeton's keen nose detected many fine smells in the air. The rat was hungry and thirsty. He decided to go exploring. Without saying anything to anybody, he started off. Bring me back a word, Charlotte called after him. I shall be writing tonight for the last time. And I want to pause there for a second and remind you that Charlotte isn't feeling very well. She's kind of tired a lot. She also told Wilbur that she's getting ready to lay her eggs, and that when it was time for her to lay the eggs, she had no choice. She had to lay them right then. So Charlotte's not feeling as good as she has been. The rat mumbled something to himself and disappeared in the shadows. He did not like being treated like a messenger boy. After the heat of the day, the evening came as a welcome relief to everyone. The Ferris wheel was lit up. It went round and round in the sky and seemed twice as high by day. There were lights on the midway, and you could hear the crackle of gambling machines and the music of the merry-go-round and the voice of the man in the bingo booth calling numbers. The children felt refreshed after a nap. Fern met her friend Henry Fussy, and he invited her to ride with him on the Ferris wheel. He even bought a ticket for her so it didn't cost her anything. When Miss Arable happened to look up into the starry sky and saw her little daughter sitting with Henry Fussy and going higher and higher in the air on the Ferris wheel, and also saw how happy Fern looked, she shook her head. My, she said, Henry Fussy, just think of that. Templeton kept out of sight. In the tall grass behind the cattle barn, he found a folded newspaper. Inside it were leftovers from somebody's lunch. a deviled ham sandwich, a piece of Swiss cheese, part of a hard-boiled egg, and the core of a wormy apple. The rat crawled in and ate everything. Then he tore a word out of the paper and rolled it up and started back to Wilbur's pen. Charlotte had her web almost finished when Templeton returned carrying the newspaper clipping. She had left a space in the middle of the web for the word. At this hour, no people were around in the pig pen, so the rat and the spider and the pig were by themselves. Remember, all the other animals didn't go. It was just those animals that were able to go to the fair. I hope you brought a good one, Charlotte said. It's the last word I will ever write. Here, said Templeton, unrolling the paper. What does it say? Asked Charlotte. You'll have to read it for me. It says humble, replied the rat. Humble, said Charlotte. Humble. It has two meanings. It means not proud, and it means near to the ground. That's Wilbur all over. He's not proud, and he's near to the ground. Well, I hope you're satisfied, sneered the rat. I am not going to spend all of my time fetching and carrying. I came to this fair to enjoy myself, not to deliver papers to people. You've been very helpful, Charlotte said. Run along if you want to go see more of the fair. The rat grinned. I'm going to make a night of it, he said. The old sheep was right. This fair is a rat's paradise. What eating, what drinking. Everywhere there's good hiding places and good hunting. Bye-bye, my humble Wilbur. Farewell, Charlotte, you old schemer. This is going to be a night to remember in the rat's life. He vanished into the shadows. Charlotte went back to her work. It was quite dark now, and in the distance fireworks began going on, rockets scattering fiery balls all through the sky. And by the time that the Arbles and the Zuckermans and Lurvy returned from the grandstand, Charlotte had finished her web. The word humble was woven neatly in the center. Nobody noticed it in the dark. Everyone was tired, but happy. Fern and Avery climbed into the truck and laid down. They pulled up the Indian blanket over them. Lurvy gave Wilbur a forkful of fresh straw, and Mr. Arble patted him. It's time for us to go home, he said to the pig. See you tomorrow. The grown-ups climbed slowly into the truck, and Wilbur heard the engine start and then heard the truck moving away in a low speed. He would have felt lonely and homesick had Charlotte not been with him. He never felt lonely when she was nearby. In the distance, he could still hear the music of the merry-go-round. As he was dropping off to sleep, he spoke to Charlotte. Sing me that song again, about the dung and the dark, he begged. Not tonight, she said in a low voice. I'm too tired. Her voice didn't come from her web. Where are you? Asked Wilbur. I can't see you. Are you on your web? I'm back here, she answered, up in this back corner. Why aren't you on your web? Asked Wilbur. You almost never leave your web. I left it tonight, she said. Wilbur closed his eyes. Charlotte, he said, after a while, do you really think Zuckerman will let me live and not kill me when the cold weather comes? Do you really think so? Of course, said Charlotte. You're a famous pig now, and you are a good pig. Tomorrow you'll probably win a prize, and the whole world will hear about you. Zuckerman will be proud and happy to own such a pig. You have nothing to fear, Wilbur. Nothing to worry about. Maybe you'll live forever. Who knows? And now go to sleep. For a while there was no sound. Then Wilbur's voice. What are you doing up there, Charlotte? Oh, making something, she said. Making something as usual. Is it something for me? Asked Wilbur. No, said Charlotte. It's something for me, for a change. Please tell me what it is, begged Wilbur. I'll tell you in the morning, she said. When the first light comes into the sky, and the sparrows stir and the cows rattle their chains, when the rooster crows and the stars fade, when early cars whisper along the highway, look up here, and I'll show you something. I'll show you my masterpiece. Before she finished her sentence, Wilbur was asleep. She could tell by the sound of his breathing he was sleeping peacefully, deep in the straw. Miles away at the Arbel's house, the men sat around the kitchen table eating a dish of canned peaches and talking over the day. Upstairs, Avery was already falling in bed asleep, and Mrs. Arbel was tucking Fern into bed too. Did you have a good time at the fair? She asked as she kissed her daughter good night. Fern nodded. Yes, I had the best time I've ever had anywhere or any time in all of my whole life. Well, said Miss Arbel, isn't that nice? And that's the end of the chapter. I hope you guys have gotten to the point where you enjoy Charlotte's Web. We're going to hear more about Charlotte and what happened and what she wrote in her web and how people think, what people think about it next time that we meet together. But hopefully this is going to work for us to be able to hear the rest of the story. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you the next time that you hear the next chapter.